Hi everyone, I hope all of you guys are doing well. So today I'm going to tell you two things. First of all, I'm going to tell you a short story about meeting an aspirant all the way here in Tokyo, which was quite a nice experience for me, and also to be able to see someone who's aspiring for civil services while even working abroad in such a developed country. That was something motivating. And I will also tell you a little bit about the advice I gave to him. And it was kind of a surprising advice because I felt that was the right thing to do. And the second thing is I'm going to talk a little bit about what one thing a lot of aspirants are actually missing in their UPSC preparation. And this particular thing does not have to do with sources, does not have to do with the kind of books you have to read or how you should read them, but about developing a way of thinking which will really help you in order to grasp any concept really fast and to be able to remember it for a long time. A lot of aspirants have a problem in understanding concepts because not all of us are having a memory where we are able to remember these concepts and understand them quickly. So I'm going to tell you one very basic thing that a lot of aspirants can do, even a lot of college going students or any students who are looking to do well in their exams can use in order to understand something properly and then apply it in the future so that they can have better conceptual clarity. Okay, so first of all, going to the story, very nice sweet story. This guy, I will not name him, he's a very honest, dedicated person who is also graduate one of the top schools, one of the top colleges in India. He actually decided to message me on Instagram. Normally I don't see the messages on Instagram. It's not easy because I have a busy schedule as well, and then on top of that going through all the messages is difficult. But by chance it happened that I saw that message and he said, "Sir, I am in Tokyo, I want to meet you, is it possible?" Now obviously I have a very hectic schedule here in Tokyo as well. While I'm studying, I'm also trying to explore this country, learn things from here, have some good time before I go back to India, of course go back to the job. So now when I saw his message, then I replied back to him. I said, why not, for 30 minutes or so we can meet. So I invited him and he came all the way to meet me, and it was very nice to meet him because he gave me confidence in the future of our country. One of the guys from top engineering colleges, has done well in his studies, then came all the way to Tokyo without any support, comes from a very humble background, from a rural background, comes here without any relatives, without knowing anyone, and starts a new career in which he is doing very well now. But he also is someone who's very excited and interested, and since beginning he has been interested in the civil services. So he wanted to ask me my advice, whether and how should I appear. So he wanted this advice from me, and I personally felt that he should stay in the corporate sector. Maybe he should get an MBA over the next 1 or 2 years from a good reputed college. He should prepare for that, and then perhaps after that he should pursue a management job, and after that he can always come into the civil services indirectly through either lateral entry, or he can come as a consultant, or he can contribute the vast knowledge that he has. If he becomes very successful in his career, he can always be called by the government on various committees to participate, and that way he can make very large impact. And I felt that because and I told him that because I believe that he already has a lot of technical expertise in a particular field, and if you have a lot of technical expertise in a particular field, then leaving it all, so much struggle you have done for coming back and starting again, will be kind of a difficult choice to make. But then I also didn't discourage him. I told him that you can always definitely go ahead and try once or twice more. He had already appeared for one attempt, so I told him, why don't you appear once more, maybe twice more maximum, while preparing from here, and if you have good luck, if you are able to prepare in the correct direction, maybe you are able to qualify it, but that same time can also be used for preparing for some other like GMAT or something, so that he can get an MBA abroad. So these were the kind of things that we talked about. I feel at the end of the day, wherever his heart is calling him, he should do that, but at the same time I believe, and for a lot of aspirants there, private sector experience is very important. Even for India to develop, India needs investment, private expertise, it needs technology, it needs management graduates, and at the end of the day, government also needs help of these people in order to grow, in order to become more efficient and effective. So regardless of whether you are in the civil services or not, you will get a chance to definitely serve the country if you have the right intentions. So that was the kind of story I wanted to tell you, because I feel he has the right intentions. He wants to contribute to a country, he wants to give back, maybe work with education, maybe work with technology, some sort of technology. So he can always do that. But obviously it is harder to do it in being private sector, because it's not easy to just get into government and do something. But even as a government civil servant, see, at the end of the day, bureaucrats' job is to run the bureaucracy, to run the government systems. A lot of times we are able to make good changes, a lot of times we are not able to make changes. So we have to come to peace with that. There are a lot of stakeholders in a government job. There is public, there is media, there is politicians, there is all different kind of politicians from local level to the higher level, and these are representatives of the public. They are very important stakeholder. There are NGOs, so all these, there is law, and also there is police. Police is also a stakeholder in a lot of projects. There's enforcement agencies. So all these different kind of stakeholders are there in the system, and you have to make sure that you are listening to the stakeholders, you are understanding them. So in government, obviously the work happens more slowly, it takes time, and maybe sometimes you don't get the result that you want, because it's a continuous evolving process. In the private sector, the approach is not so wide, because if you have, let's say you want to build a factory, you want to build a product, you have a piece of land, you go and buy to develop the factory over it, and then you can start employing people to generate the product that you want. Obviously it's not as easy, but the scale, the scope of work is very, very different between a government and between a private sector. But there is a synergy between the two of them. If the two of them decide to work together, if the government lets a lot of its work that it doesn't do efficiently be done by the private sector, but the government also knows how to regulate well, so that private sector is not monopolizing and is not creating a situation where only a few are benefiting. And so this way, the government's job here, that's why, is to regulate, to create a playing level field for everyone. On the other hand, the private enterprise's job is to provide the expertise, to provide the investment, to provide the speed of doing things. But getting that all together is not that easy. So I advise him to stay in the private sector. So people who have inclination to working for the public, in public service, should be there in the private sector as well, because then only we will be able to have synergies between the government and the private sector. Anyway, so this short thing I wanted to tell you, because these are some of the views that I hold. Now the second thing is about, I wanted to discuss about the context of studying things. Lot of times as UPSC aspirants, we do not have context. We will pick up a book, let's say history book or economy book or polity book. We will start studying that book, and we will think after we have studied that book, we are prepared. It does not work like that. You cannot be prepared just by reading a book. Even just by reading a book and then solving previous year questions, you cannot be prepared enough. Yes, you will be prepared well, but you cannot be prepared enough. In order to really be able to handle a lot of questions that are coming in UPSC, that are more detailed or that are little bit not directly connected to what you have read, you have to understand the context. So the framework of understanding the context is very important. Now what is context? I'm saying this thing, context is nothing but basically the environment in which you are studying that particular thing, the overall different things that are in place in order to understand that particular one isolated event. I will give a very basic example. Let's say we are studying World War II or World War I. So when we are studying World War II, we will come to know about the rise of the Nazi Germany. We will come to know about how different European nations had different alliances. We will come to know about the role of India. We will come to know about the role of technology that played role in this particular war. We will come to know about the Holocaust. So all these different kind of things we will come to know about in that particular World War II story. But then just knowing these things in their own isolated ways is not enough. We have to also understand the context of all the things happening around the world when the World War II is also happening. So when the World War II is happening, At the same time, there are a lot of freedom struggles going on in the subcontinent. In India, there's a massive freedom struggle going on. There's a freedom struggle going on in some countries in Africa, or it is starting there. These kind of different events are unfolding. In the US, on the other hand, there is no such conflict per se, but US is now emerging as one of the top powers in the world now, after such a long years of independence. Independence meaning, after they had thrown away the colonizers. Technically they have a new constitution. Now it was the time that US was actually becoming less isolated, not isolated, and it was coming out of the shadows, and it was becoming a great force in the world affairs, which was never seen before. So like these different things are unfolding all across the world. In China, different events are happening. In Japan, different events are happening. So all these different events are happening while the World War II is happening in Europe. Unless we all understand the context of all these different events, we are not going to be able to write a well analyzed question, whatever it is, which comes in the exam. And this is true for all the subjects. Let's say when you're studying polity, you're studying about, let's say, the 73rd and the 74th constitutional amendments, which are about providing local governance, municipal government's powers, funds functionaries powers, to the funds functionaries and functions powers to the local government, to the municipal government, to the rural bodies, Jila Parishad, Panchayat Samitis, etc., to the Gram Panchayat. If you don't understand the context in which these particular amendments came into being, then it will be difficult, because at that time we used to have planning commission in India, and the planning commission determined that the roots of development, the fruits of development and the roots of development actually lie in the very bottom administration and governance, which is at the panchayati level, which is also something that we had. Historically speaking, we had panchayats who used to do a lot of work within the village. So why not empower them? Why don't give them funds? Because all the funds earlier used to be utilized by either the state government or central government. So this whole movement towards the decentralization started. So that was the context. And then in that particular thing, you can also read about the contribution made by different people in that, when that whole decentralization thing happened. But over a period of time, it was felt, and this is an experiment. Decentralization in India is still an ongoing experiment. How much power to give to the local bodies, because sometimes they are also not held so much accountable how they should be for the work they do. So what kind of role the citizens can have, the judiciary can have, the law and order police can have, the administrators can have. So all these different kind of things can only be understood by context, and context comes from understanding different aspects, the history, the situation surrounding the emergence of that particular situation, and maybe people who contributed to that, what was the thought process of that. Now I'm not telling you make too much effort to understand the context by doing another PhD, by going into different texts, but at least if you do a simple Google search to understand what was going on at that time, what were the major players involved, what, why, how, when, these are the basic questions. If you ask and you try to form a context, try to form a story around it, then you will be able to remember it for a longer time, you will be able to understand it better, and you will be able to create better answers in answer writing. Because answer writing, at the end of the day, mains is the exam, is the real test of UPSC. Prelims, so many people appear, so many people don't appear seriously, so many people don't even choose to write after filling the form, and when people, whoever comes, not all of them are serious, 50% of them are serious, and out of 50%, the real competition you are going to have is with people who are going to write well in the mains exam. So writing well is the number one requisite of UPSC exam, not just understanding all the subjects. And how will you be able to write well? By understanding the context of all these different events that are unfolding, by reading, by creating context, by looking at some basic research that you do on your own end. Now I'm not saying do that for everything, but do it for important topics that are appearing in UPSC year in and year out. When I was studying for UPSC a few years back, 73rd, 74th constitutional amendment came twice or thrice in the exam, in the mains exam and even in the prelims exam, and still today it is coming. I was just writing answers for the 2024 papers, even then it is coming. So these are important topics. So Naxalism, for example, is an important topic, internal security topic. there is so much context that you need to build around Naxalism in order to understand Naxalism. If you're going to just study that, it is a movement of overthrowing the government of India by these certain people in a certain part of India, that is not enough. You have to understand the historical context of it. You have to understand the geographical context around it, political concepts of it, and that you will do by, apart from reading the basic materials so that you have the basic understanding, you also read a little bit more by doing your own research so that you form a context around it. And context comes from when, who, how, there, why. Sorry, I'm getting confused by those words one after the other. So what, when, how, who, why. If these 4-5 things you are able to understand properly around a thing, read some news articles about that, go and search online, so you will be able to form a good context around it. So I suggest all of you should definitely work on creating context around what you study. Alright, so that is what I wanted to talk about. I hope it will help you in your preparation. It's something that no one else will tell you, no one else will bother to tell, because we are just focusing on just opening books and reading them instead of understanding and developing a good solid foundation level. So this will help you, and if you have any questions, let me know. Happy to answer them, help you. Bye bye, take care and have a good day.